In this video, we're going to have a look at calculations involving the angles of elevation and depression. Now, the angle of elevation is the angle measured up from the horizontal line to the line of vision. So it is starting at the horizontal line down at your line of sight, and it is you looking upwards. And the angle of elevation is this angle that is formed between your line of sight and your line of vision, you looking upwards. So think of it as you standing on the ground and looking up to the top of a cliff. You are looking up, you are looking at an angle of elevation. The opposite of an angle of elevation is an angle of depression. And this is the angle that is measured down from the horizontal line to the line of vision. So here you are starting at the top and your line of sight is up the top and you are looking downwards. And the angle that's formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight looking downwards is the angle of depression. So this time, instead of standing on the ground looking at the top of the cliff, which gives you your angle of elevation, you are already standing at the top of the cliff and you are actually looking down to the ground. So you are looking down and the angle that is formed is the angle of depression. So let's have a look at some steps to calculate the angle of elevation and depression and use them to solve problems. So the first step when solving problems involving angles of elevation and depression is to read the question and highlight any key information. Now this information could be a distance or an angle that is provided to you in the question. The second step is to draw a diagram. Now that diagram would normally involve a triangle, and mark down any known measurements or angles. Once you have done your diagram, you can use trigonometry and the angle of elevation or depression to solve the problem. So let's have a look at an example of how to solve a problem involving an angle of depression. So in this example, we're given the information that we're standing on the top of a cliff that is 112 meters high. Now the angle of depression to the boat is 18 degrees. And we want to know how far is the boat from the foot of the cliff. So as I was reading the question, I've gone through and highlighted the key information. So we are on top of a cliff that is 112 meters high. The angle of elevation to the boat is 18 degrees. So I need to use this information to be able to draw a diagram. So I'm going to start off by drawing my cliff and my boat that's out in the water. And now I can go ahead and mark the information that I have and to add a triangle. So I'm going to add a triangle in. Now, so you're standing up here at the top, looking down, and the angle of depression from the top to the bottom of the boat is 18 degrees. Now, when you're marking in the angle of depression, it is important to understand where that angle actually is. So the angle is formed between the horizontal line running along the top and down to the line of sight. So it is this angle in here that is 18 degrees. That is your angle of depression. Now, my triangle that I've formed does not include the angle of depression, so I need to add in what that angle is going to be, and I can do that by calculating 90 minus 18, which is 72. So I've now added in my angle of depression and used that to calculate my angle within my triangle. I know that my cliff is 112 meters high, and I want to calculate how far from the cliff to the boat, which I'm going to label D. So now that I have my right angle triangle and I have an angle and a known side, I can use my trigonometry understanding to calculate my missing side. So labeling the sides of my triangle that are relevant, I've got adjacent being 112, my opposite being the unknown. So when I've got a right angle triangle and I'm using opposite and adjacent, I can use tan, the tan ratio. So writing that down, tan of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. So substituting in my known values, so tan of 72 is equal to d over 112. I want to find out what d is by rearranging that equation. So I can multiply both sides by 112 times 112. So I can work out that 112 times tan 72 is equal to my d value. So putting that into a calculator. So the distance from the cliff to my boat is going to be 344.7 meters. So by using the angle of depression and trigonometry, I can work out that the distance from the edge of the cliff to the boat is 344 meters. So that is an example of how we can calculate or solve a problem using both angles of depression and trigonometry.